I got 5 guys for y'all in the NBA that I believe going into the 2024-25 season, they should take a next level towards a significant change. And most of these guys that I got, if not all, are on the younger side, who have a lot of potential, and most importantly, the green light in order to work on that potential, period. That's something key where a lot of players don't really have the freedom. And even if that's not the case, I still believe when we go through the roster of the teams that these players are on, if they truly have star capability, something that could blossom into that, they should be able to outbeat the other competition that is at their position on their squad. Yes, it's a team game, but of course, there's always going to be somebody who has their own personal ambitions, who really wants to stand out. But that being said, this all ties into the first person I'm going to start off with, Jonathan Kuminga.
How much a license or need do you feel to be more aggressive scoring, not just because you did it last year, but with Clay gone? I mean, as much as you liked him and connected with him, there's a lot of offense that vanished when he left.
That was even a case of this summer, just working on being one of those guys that they could rely on one of those nights to go out there and help them win it. So I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm very comfortable just coming out there and just being one of those guys that could score.
Early in this year, 2024, there was reports that Jonathan Kuminga was unhappy with how he was used or the minutes that he was getting under Steve Kerr. There was reports about friction, and then apparently they had some type of meeting where they kind of aired out how they felt. And then from there, I guess everything was pretty much smooth. In an interview where they asked Steve Kerr about it, he was alluding to it, but he didn't directly talk about what was really said. He did, however, mention that I played 15 years in the NBA. Every single one of those years, I had issues with playing time. Now, if Jonathan Kuminga was stepping up his scoring after rumors with him having complaints about his playing time, Klay Thompson gone now, who's in his way? The Golden State Warriors, they added Kyle Anderson, Buddy Hield, really good role players. Don't want to overlook that. But Kuminga is the potential raw talent that they have, that they've been developing. I know they got Brandon as well, who they're very high on, but Kuminga is obviously a lot more further in this process at this current moment. Andrew Wiggins is the only player that you could say is quote-unquote standing in his way. He was the second best player on that championship team in 2022 for the Warriors. Unfortunately, though, that consistency level of what we saw in that finals hasn't always been there for whatever reason. I'm basically saying this is an open field for Kuminga. And with Andrew Wiggins, his contract is a very movable one. If they want to trade him for some future assets, if they believe that they're going to go in a more of a rebuilding situation, or if they think we want to still get a championship, let's trade Wiggins to get another piece that we can put alongside Steph Curry to help him in order to get a ring. I don't think the latter would work. I would suggest a rebuild. We're going to see what Kuminga does with this opportunity, though.
And my conversations with Cam are, can I help you be a more efficient of a scorer, right? If you look at his numbers, the less he dribbles, the more efficient he is to the top of the NBA. Like, it's impressive. His superpower is to score the ball, and what we need to do is to help him do that, but in an efficient way. Same as his playmaking, because he attracts so much attention. Teams are going to try to blitz him, load to him, how he can kick that and create more assists, potential assists. So
Cam Thomas of the Brooklyn Nets is the next player on my list who I'm expecting to have a breakout season. He averaged about 23 a game last year, and this is with Mikal Bridges. Now that Mikal is gone, man, if there's anybody that I could point to as to who I'm really looking to see what they do, it would be him. Even if Mikal didn't leave, I would still expect to see him do something huge. And there's no one on this Brooklyn roster that should take precedent over him, period. He has the biggest green light. As you heard his own coach say, that his superpower is scoring. Do y'all understand the level of confidence that you have to have in a player to say that is his superpower, and we're still trying to find ways to make him more efficient at doing that? That's the area of improvement you could tell he was subtly hinting at. Basically saying anytime he's dribbling the ball too much, he's not as efficient with the scoring, which lets me know that they want a point guard beside him. Like, look, you're going to play off the ball. I guess this is why Ben Simmons is still somewhat important to the team, even if he's not the Ben Simmons of the 76ers. There's something else the coach brought up that I want to discuss, which was the part where he was talking about wanting Cam to be a better playmaker when it came to the attention, double teams that come his way due to his scoring ability, and him locating guys who are open, hitting them for the right shot. You got to have much more of a balance on your team. You can't have a roster where there's literally a bunch of guards, forwards, and only 2 centers. That's what I see when I'm looking at the Brooklyn roster. You need a complementary piece that does not get in the way of a Cam, somebody who could play off him because they have a different skill set and strength. Not a team full of the same offensive players or the guys who have the same style, which means the defense is not going to have to make much adjustments, period. Anybody that comes in the game is a similar player to the one that just came out. With all that said, I'm very interested to see what Cam will do entering his 4th year in the NBA.
I think just looking at the roster, we have a lot of guys, quite honestly, that need the ball in their hands and that are probably most effective, when the ball's in their hands. So, I think for us, was in a little bit of a similar situation in Oklahoma City with Schroeder and Chris Paul and Shea. Those guys were great to work with, and they all understood that there was a level of sacrifice that goes into it. Hopefully, Lonzo can continue to progress. You have Giddey, Kobe's a guy.
As we get into Kobe White, who is the current player that we're about to discuss on this breakout list of mine, technically speaking, he did already have a breakout season for himself. I'm just looking to see what he'll continue to do after it. It's only right that I still play that clip Billy Donovan said where he's echoing what I was bringing up just earlier with Cam Thomas when it comes to having a bunch of guys who are really guards on the team, or what he said, players who need the ball in their hands. And he brought up the 3-guard lineup that he coached on OKC with Dennis Schroeder, Chris Paul, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They did make the playoffs. However, to put more context to that, Dennis Schroeder was traded right after. Chris Paul was traded right after. Billy Donovan ended up leaving too. The only person who stayed, as we know, was obviously Shea. Now when I look at the Chicago Bulls roster, DeMar DeRozan, a guard, is not on the team anymore. He's with the Sacramento Kings. There's a lot of concern or talk with Zach LaVine. If he wants to stay, where is he going to be long term? Lonzo Ball, unfortunately, with these very tragic knee injuries, he's been out for over 2 years. He's coming back, but I don't see him just starting right away and going full throttle. This is Kobe White's position to take over and really solidify himself as the starting point guard and the future of the Chicago Bulls. He's entering his 6th year. However, he's still only 24 years old. That's relatively young when it comes to the NBA. Throughout his career, he's been starting sometimes, coming off the bench in other seasons. He was also the 7th pick in his draft class. I guess I'm asking, in year 6, after coming off career highs of 19 points, 5 assists, 4.5 rebounds, is there another gear that he has in his game that will be allowed to flourish, since it looks like the Bulls are headed in more of a rebuilding situation? We're going to see this season.
You mentioned your ball playmaking outside as a center. Could you see yourself playing more of like an Alpha and Chain doing the Jokic role this year, being like a DHO hub?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like my ability to pass is something that not a lot of people know about. So I feel like that'd be an aspect that I'll be able to show a lot this year, especially with Coach JB's offense.
Jalen Duren of the Detroit Pistons is who I have next up in this conversation. My apologies if you weren't able to hear exactly what the reporter was asking in the original audio. The reporter is way back. You can't hear everything clearly. But basically, he was saying to Duren, do you see yourself as an Alperen Sengun, Nikola Jokic kind of guy, where you're doing dribble handoffs, playmaking at the top of the key? Duren responded back confidently, confirming that yes, he does think that he could become that kind of player, and cites his head coach as a reason why, based on the offense that he runs. Even if that's not the case, we're talking about a player who in his 2nd year in the NBA was giving you 13 points and about 11.5 rebounds, more impressively, in under 30 minutes. His game, his style, it reminds me a little bit of a Dwight Howard. If he develops his game more, I could see him becoming shades of that. The only difference is Dwight Howard was a much better defensive player, obviously. Perhaps he'll grow a lot more on that side of the basketball as well. I'm just talking about the upside, what I potentially see. I also like the dynamic of the team. You have Cade Cunningham playing point guard, Tobias Harris on the wing, your small forward, with Jalen Duren on the inside at center. I like that core group of 3 players moving forward. I expect a big season from Duren, which should result in him and Cade Cunningham looking like a 1-2 combination in particular.
You won Rookie of the Year. You were part of the All-Star team last year. Is there any certain personal goals for yourself coming this year? Defensive Player of the Year, All-NBA first team, second team, third team?
like I said earlier, it all starts with winning. That's the most important thing. And then everything else just falls into place. Those things would be great, but it all starts with winning first.
Correct me if my timing is off. I believe it was at the end of the regular season that just passed. Masai Ujiri is doing a press conference. A reporter asks him, do you think that Scottie Barnes is ready to be the franchise leader moving forward? Masai Ujiri responds back by saying, I don't know if he is, but it's our job to make sure that he has all the tools and the right guidance in order to become that player that we need him to be for the franchise. I'm paraphrasing. We all know the infamous rant the Raptors head coach Darko went on after the Lakers game, where he's saying Scottie Barnes is an all-star caliber player. He's going to be the face of this league. He's complaining why Scottie's not getting certain calls because he's driving to the rim and really playing aggressive. So Scottie Barnes having a breakout year, you could say as well. 20 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists roughly. That's really good for a player who doesn't have the expectations that I just laid out, on top of signing a max contract. Your franchise trading away another star that they had with Pascal Siakam, a really good player in OG. I'm looking for Scottie Barnes to have the kind of season where his name is being mentioned among the elites. I'm talking all-NBA considerations. Look, his teammate RJ Barrett said that he is the most unselfish superstar he's ever seen. And I said, wait a minute, Scottie had a great season last year, but I don't consider that a superstar year that he had. And on top of it, it was his best season. So it wasn't like he had something better that he did before. He's entering his 4th year now. This will be the biggest jump from being a star player, which he is right now, to a superstar level player. There's a difference between the two that a lot of NBA fans get confused, in my opinion. If you're a Raptors fan, you believe I'm putting too much pressure on him. He's only 23 years old. I understand all that. I'm just basing this off of what I hear from the Raptors organization, like his teammates or head coach, as well as the actions that have been taking place so far. With all that said, let me know in the comment section how you're feeling about all the other players that I mentioned. Is there anybody else that you would have put on this list who you're looking forward to seeing what they're going to do for the 2024-2025 season? I would love to know. And as always, salute for listening. Peace.